You know, it's a known fact that every person carries stress, and that stress becomes tension, and eventually that tension becomes pain. And here's the part most people never hear. Pain isn't the beginning of the problem. Pain is the end of a long progression the body has been trying to manage for months and even sometimes even for years. Now, the five pathway system is a map that shows exactly how stress, tension, and pain move through the body. And it shows how to unwind them in the only sequence the body will accept. And the five pathway system is a stress, tension, pain management program that follows the body's natural architecture. It's a system that helps practitioners understand how the body reorganizes movement, balance, and even compensation. But it's not done by forcing change. It's accomplished by working with the body's own sequencing. And the five pathway system unwinds the body, checkpoint by checkpoint, layer by layer, using five specific wavelengths of light that open the layers in a predictable, safe, and stable order. So let me explain this story that your body is always trying to tell you, even when you're not listening. Stress is the first stage. It's the accomplishment of cognitive, emotional, sensory, and environmental pressure. Stress doesn't hurt the body directly. What it does do is that it speeds everything up. And it does that by increasing internal noise, and it pushes the system toward protective patterns. So stress is the signal that tells the body that it's carrying way more than it can process at that time. And when stress builds to that point, the body then responds with tension. Tension is where muscles tighten, facial braces, breath becomes shallow, and vulnerable areas become guarded. Now, tension isn't a mistake. It's the body's trying to stabilize itself under the overload that it's trying to manage. But if stress continues, tension becomes layered, it becomes habitual, and it even becomes unconscious. And finally, it becomes pain. Now, pain appears when tension has been held so long that the body can no longer compensate for it. This is where the circulation drops, mobility decreases, nerves become irritated, and structures even begin to distort. So pain is not the beginning of the problem. Pain is the end result of stress and tension that were never addressed. So when pain finally shows up, it's not random and it's not all of a sudden. Pain is when the body is saying, I have carried this for a long time and I've run out of places to put it. Because the body doesn't store stress and tension in one spot, it stores it in layers. So it also protects you in layers. And eventually, when these layers become full of stress and tension, it'll break the body down in layers. And once you understand those layers, you can finally unwind the story in the same order that it was built. And that's exactly what the five pathway system does. It follows the body's five layers, the same five layers the body uses to absorb stress, build tension, and eventually create pain. Each layer holds a different kind of stress, and each layer requires a different light wavelength to open that specific layer. So let me walk you through each of these layers. Now, the first layer is called the physical tension layer. This is the surface layer. It contains the muscles and the superficial fascia. This is what tightens when the body is stressed. When this layer is overloaded, the body feels stiff, it feels guarded, and it can even feel restricted. Now, the second layer is called the emotional mechanical layer. And this layer holds emotional stress and mechanical stress at the same time. It's where emotional overwhelm shows up as a physical tightness. It's where posture changes when someone is anxious or overloaded. Moving on to the third layer, which is the deep structural fatigue layer. And this is the layer of long-term deep physical stress and compensation. It's the layer that holds the "I've been carrying this for years" kind of stress. The fourth layer is the clarity integration layer. This is where the layer reorganizes and reintegrates, allowing everything to come back together once the deeper layers release. And finally, the fifth layer is the sensory irritation layer. This is the skin surface, the sensory layer, the layer that becomes irritated or overstimulated when the system is overwhelmed. Now, let's move on to the specific wavelength devices that are used. In the 5-pathway system, each layer uses a specific wavelength device, and each wavelength has a very specific job to accomplish. Now, these aren't ordinary lights. They're specific tools that communicate with the body in the language the body actually understands. It's best to think of them as 5 different keys, and each one opens a different lock to open a specific layer of the body. And when they're used in the right order, the body unwinds in the only sequence it trusts. So let's look at each of these wavelengths individually. The first one is our 660 nanometer red wavelength device that works directly with the physical tension layer. Now, red light works on the surface layer, the muscles and the superficial fascia, and these are what tighten under stress. So it helps the body stop bracing and prepares the system for deeper work. Our second unit is our 590 nanometer amber wavelength device, and it works with the emotional mechanical layer. Amber light reaches the mid layer where emotional stress and mechanical stress overlap. It helps the body release the emotional mechanical pressure, and it helps it to settle. Our third device is our 850 nanometer near infrared wavelength device that works with the deep structural fatigue layer. Near infrared light reaches the deepest layer, the layer of long-term fatigue and structural compensation. It helps to reorganize the system from the inside out. Our fourth device is the 530 nanometer green wavelength, and it works with the clarity integration layer. So green brings the whole system back together. What it does, it stabilizes the nervous system, calms the sensory noise, and helps the body integrate the pattern changes it just made. Now, our last device is our 450 nanometer blue wavelength device, and that works with the sensory irritation layer. So blue calms the skin's surface sensory layer, the layer that becomes irritated or overstimulated when the system's overwhelmed. In fact, the sequence is the secret. When these wavelength devices are used in the correct order, starting with the red, moving on to the amber, into the near infrared, the green, and finally the blue, and when used in that order, the body unwinds checkpoint by checkpoint, layer by layer, in a predictable and safe progression. So that's why the 5-pathway system works. It doesn't force the body, it follows the body. And when all 5 checkpoints open and all 5 layers have been released, the body finally has the chance to move the way it's designed to move. It's supposed to move with balance, with coordination, with clarity, and without unnecessary stress, tension, or pain. So that's why we say every body has a story. Now, the 5-pathway system doesn't fight that story. It listens to it, it follows it, and it unwinds it by following checkpoint by checkpoint, layer by layer, wavelength by wavelength, in the exact sequence the body trusts. Now, this is not just pain relief, and it's definitely not just body work. This is a system that helps the body remember how to be itself again. And the 5-pathway system is built on and follows a single principle, and that principle is the body unwinds from the outside in, and it stabilizes from the inside